Благодаря ви много.
Welcome everybody to cold Sofia. My name is Mathijs le Rutte. I'm the UNHCR representative in Bulgaria. I've been working with UNHCR for more than 25 years. I may not be an expert on racism, but certainly an expert on the result of it. When refugees flee, they do so for reasons of race, religion, nationality. You know the definition. And how ironic and worrying it is that when they come to Europe, these are exactly the same reasons why, again, they're confronted with discrimination, marginalization, even violence. In that sense, persecution is a manifestation of racism, of xenophobia, of intolerance. So it's a universal problem, whether it's in a country that people are fleeing or whether it's a country where they are seeking protection. A problem of nationalism, protectionism, even fascism. What to do about it? In Bulgaria in 2014, we were trying to get 10 asylum seekers to attend school, and there was tremendous resistance, particularly from the Bulgarian parents of the schools where these children would end up. Parents were saying that they were afraid the children would spread disease, their parents would be terrorists. Particularly the Ministry of Education in Bulgaria took a step and said, no, we can make this happen. They talked to the schools, they talked to the parents, and in the end these children were able to go to school. We fast forward 2017, 2018, the Ministry of Education has continued this and has changed laws and bylaws, and the percentage of children, asylum-seeking children, being able to access school has dramatically risen. It's now close to 60–70%. I'm telling this story because I think what we learn from this is that there is a possibility to fight prejudice. There's a possibility to fight racism. It takes courage to do what is right. But what is also important is it didn't only change the lives of these children and their parents and their refugee community. It changed the lives of the Bulgarian children who went to school with them and their parents and their community, and it has had a tremendous positive impact on those communities, not just in Sofia but also in Harmony, where there is the largest refugee center in Bulgaria. Now, there are a lot of universities engaged in this particular project. And my appeal is that universities should not only be helpful for research. Universities are breeding grounds for lots of new ideas. What we're trying to do in Bulgaria is to reach out to every single university so that we can speak to the students. I've talked to many ministers, deputy ministers in Bulgaria. They're much, much younger than me. This means that the students of today, in less than 10 years, may be ministers and deputy ministers, making policy. So this is a very interesting audience to reach out to. To educate, but also to engage in activism. Most of the emails that UNHCR gets in Bulgaria are requests from people saying, how can I help? So I think that the point I'm trying to make is that racism is not something we are born with inherently. This is something that we're taught. It is very easy to be taught. It's much, much more difficult to be untaught. But if there is one thing that would be a key to it, in my mind, it would be education. To fight racism and xenophobia is to fight ignorance and prejudices. We had we do a survey every year in Bulgaria about the attitudes of the population against refugees. You can imagine that it's not very positive. The extremes are changing, though. This is interesting. There is the majority of let's say persuadables is becoming bigger. So the extremes against refugees is slightly changing. But what is most interesting perhaps is 94% of Bulgarians have not met a refugee ever. And maybe that will change things if they do meet someone. And when I talk about education, I don't talk about necessarily just learning things, but it's to how to critically think, how to check facts, how to not mindlessly inherit and adopt second-hand opinions, but really think for yourself. That's why I think these types of events are so crucial. The last thing I want to say is that we tend as civil society organizations working in this field to preach to the converted. That's nice, but not very useful. We have to preach to the non-converted. The Pope last week tried. I don't know how successful he was, but I think if you have famous people like the Pope come up with very simple messages of humanity and tolerance, it has resonance, including in Bulgaria. It has had an impact, and I think this is what we can also learn from. We're maybe not as famous as the Pope, but we can learn from the simplicity of these core messages of humanity. So I wish you a great deliberation, and thank you very much for coming to beautiful Sofia.